What is up, beautiful people of the internet? I go by the name of Wesley, and today we are reacting to TierZoo's shark tier list. Now, I did have, a little bit of biases going into the human videos that we've reacted to, given that I am a human, surprisingly. And I had quite a few biases in the cat tier list video and the dinosaur tier list video because I am passionate about kitties and dinos. But I will say, I've got no skin, gills, fins, scales, whatever you want to call it in the game when it comes to sharks. I guess I'm very, very, very lightly rooting for the great white and the tiger shark to make a pretty solid appearance here. I want them to, do pretty well. But honestly, I'm here to get along with the ride with y'all. So subscribe down below for more reactions, and let's find out what TierZoo is going to tell us about sharks today. Y'all know this is a great song. Y'all know you love Fairly Odd Parents. I was a Nickelodeon kid, so this was my jam.
Innovations made by players have been the main driving force behind the biggest meta shifts in the entire history of the game, and today I want to highlight one of the most important, the implementation of the move Bite. There's actually a fair bit of debate on which guilds can take credit for pioneering this move, but there's no question that one of the first to really perfect it, to the point of being meta-defining, were none other than the Sharks. And since then, they've been holding on to that top spot tighter than Ice Climber players hold onto a wobbling victim. They've been extremely relevant in every expansion since the Silurian, something very few guilds can claim. So today I'll go over the tier list of the Shark.
Very few? Aren't they the only guild that can claim that? What other animal has been relevant for that long?
And
or what other class of animal?
The main attributes
because they're
and
older than
abilities
mammals, right?
Which have made them such fearsome builds. Overall, sharks are at a pretty good spot in the meta, averaging around B tier. The main benefits of playing a shark build include high mobility, high damage, and most importantly, the ability to sense any player near you due to special abilities like blood sense and electroreception.
Tell me blood sense doesn't sound like it would be some ability for like a warlock or some vampire or something. Blood sense is kind of scary.
Main drawbacks include lacking swim bladder, an ability which allows the user to control their buoyancy at will, and also lacking gill flaps. Gill flaps,
I was like, can they not piss?
Passively regenerate stamina, and is an ability unique to bony fish, so sharks can only regenerate stamina if they're moving. Now let's talk about individual shark builds. As always, we'll start from the bottom of the tier list and work our way up. In bottom tier, we have nothing.
Oh, wow.
There are genuinely no shark builds I could justify as being bottom tier. Most sharks don't deviate too far from the base shark concept, which is good because it's a great guide for success. With that said, not all sharks are created equal, and in D tier we have two builds which don't really capitalize on any of the benefits of the shark class. First is the nurse shark. Low mobility, sedentary playstyle, and a really weak bite. Instead of abusing the powerful kit available for shark classes, nurse sharks rummage around the ocean floor looking for easy XP.
They're just here for a good time. Nurse shark players are just here for a good time. They're not into the competitive scene. They're just enjoying the role-playing aspects of the game.
However, they do have the strongest suction force of any fish, and since they don't have many terrible matchups, they're definitely no F tier.
Like Luffy
Second in D tier,
in One
we have
Piece,
the saw shark.
Noodles.
Saw shark players, what are you doing? Teeth are some of the best weapons in the game, and the only drawback to using them is that breaking them can ruin your playthrough. But sharks have replaceable teeth, so that weakness is completely nullified. So why did you opt for this goofy, cumbersome, impractical weapon setup? Swinging that thing around uses way too much stamina for what it nets you, and isn't very useful for defending yourself.
Yeah, but when you hit this, you couldn't find any footage of a saw shark. You gotta feel good when you hit this combo. This is like, why do Falcon players play Captain Falcon? It's for Falco Punch! Same thing. When you just and you just chop them up into like 40 pieces, that's got to feel good.
Whatever. You do you, I guess. In C tier, we've got all the sharks that decided they'd rather AFK their entire game instead of making use of the best tools available to sharks. This includes the basking shark, whale shark, and any other shark who thought filter feeding was a better idea than being a swimming doom machine. Yes, it may be easy if you make it to the late game, but without good weapons and low mobility, the majority of your playthrough is a...
This looks like freaking Kirby, but just like always sucking. It's like Kirby just flying.
huge risk, with mobile fish players like the marlin and sailfish having no problem taking you out.
Wow.
Now we're in
wow. Let's back that up. That was brutal.
The majority of your playthrough is a huge risk, with mobile fish players like the marlin and sailfish having no problem taking you out. Now we're in B tier, and we're almost to the shark builds who know how sharks are meant to be played. Almost.
Hey! How dare you, sir? How dare you? First of all, the nurse sharks are just involved with the immersive elements of the game. These guys make completely passive builds that can just, stack stats while they're not even watching them. And these guys just want to hit a meme combo, okay? They know that how dare you tell them how sharks should be played?
But first, we've got two more unorthodox builds.
Yes!
Some of my personal favorites,
Hammerhead?
actually. The first is a shark who decided that, despite being one of the smallest of its kind, it would attack the largest builds in the game. The cookie cutter shark.
I've never heard of this
sharks are unorthodox in that instead of going for the predator playstyle, they function as a parasite.
It's kind of ironic that they're called the cookie cutter shark while being anything but cookie cutter and being very different from the mold of the other sharks.
Simply latch onto a whale or other massive player, and by twisting themselves back and forth, they steal a cookie-shaped bite right off.
Ugh.
This doesn't do much damage to players, but interestingly, this build was a secret among the Shark Guild, up until a few cookie cutter players accidentally attacked human submarines, and actually caused their sonar to malfunction.
This
was during the Cold War, so the Russians and Americans assumed that the other was somehow sabotaging their submarines, until eventually a Soviet sub surfaced with a shark player still latched on. In B+ tier, we have a shark which uses one of the only AoE stun moves seen in the entire game, the Thresher Shark. Attacking a school of fish is difficult, and due to their advanced evasion and diversion tactics, you have to be fast, lucky, or clever in order to even catch a single fish. That is, unless you can hit them with a flashbang, which is essentially what Thresher Sharks do. Thresher Sharks have tails as long as the rest of their body, and they use them as a whip, creating shockwaves which stun small groups of fish.
That's so cool. It looks like a kite flying through the sky, doesn't it?
Negating their normally excellent evasion abilities. They do all of this without deviating too far from the great base stats of the shark build, so they retain decent mobility and attack power while wielding this weapon. In A tier, we finally get to those famous...
These sharks also make up the entire shark video game, or music video girl population.
Core shark builds. Everyone knows,
big old tail,
loves, and fears. It's hard to rank these in relation to each other because they're all just so darn great. We'll start with the tiger sharks. Tiger sharks have higher stealth than most of the well-known shark builds, and also have uniquely shaped teeth that make them more effective at cutting through armor and bone. Similar to actual tigers, the main strategy of a tiger shark is to get close to its target with stealth, and then use a quick burst of speed to snatch it before it can react.
I have always actually wondered why they were named after tigers, because I was like, I don't see it. I don't see a resemblance. I was like, do some have stripes or something? I don't know. That makes way more sense.
On the opposite end of the spectrum from this strategy, we have the mako shark, which has the highest mobility of all the sharks, and uses this to chase down its targets.
That thing was frantic.
This playstyle requires a lot of stamina, so this build breaks the mold and opts for warm blood instead of being cold-blooded like most other fish. This gives the mako shark the benefits of fast stamina regeneration, allowing it to keep up a pursuit longer than most other hunters.
That's really cool.
Since the speed comes at a cost to size, it doesn't quite have the monstrous weight advantage over its targets, and so mako players need to be careful and not get too greedy. The ocean's other premier speed demons, the swordfish and marlin, can be tough matchups for them. At the top of A tier, we have the bull shark, which has two unique and powerful abilities. The first is that they have the highest bite force of any shark, meaning that even though they have pretty average teeth in terms of slicing and cutting utility, they can still deliver an extremely potent bite. The second ability is that bull sharks can enter freshwater.
What are we... Why are we looking at these legs? Oh, mama, why are we looking at these legs? That is so scary.
The second ability is that bull sharks can enter freshwater servers without receiving the energy sapping and damaging debuff that obligate saltwater builds do. This allows them to travel into rivers and streams where they have no real competition. This makes bull sharks the best build for griefing low-level players. And judging by the bull shark's reputation for being the most aggressive shark, it's clear that this is exactly the type of player that this build attracts. And here we are, the head honchos of the Shark Guild. There's two builds here that occupy low S tier, and honestly I can't place one above the other, they're both just awesome. What makes them so excellent is how well they use their tracking abilities, blood sense, and electroreception. The great white shark is no doubt the most feared ocean build in the current meta, and the closest thing to the god tier megalodon still in existence. They pretty much just take everything that makes...
This thing is huge, man. Just think about how large this is. 20 feet, 59 feet. 59 feet. That's just ludicrous. What?
Still in existence. They pretty much just take everything that makes sharks so strong and push all of those things to their limit. They don't have as high bite damage as the tiger or bull shark, but the force of a great white's charge attack slamming into their target more than makes up for it, and usually takes the stock no problem.
It's crazy
Hunting
watching
seal
them jump,
players
man.
is difficult because they're clever and try to avoid putting themselves at risk when they don't need to. This is why the great white's ability to see above water is so crucial, because they can see which islands and reefs their targets are hiding on and camp them out. Their blood sensibility is through the roof, and their electroreception ability is quite polished as well, but nowhere near to the extent of the last build on my list. The Hammerhead.
Hammerhead? What the freaking A? Hammerhead is S tier? Are you kidding me?
Now, if you aren't a
What?
Hammerhead player, I'm willing to bet that when you look at this build, you think the player fell asleep during character creation and accidentally set eye width to the max. But if you think this option is purely aesthetic and not intentional, you couldn't be more wrong. Hammerheads have the best, most well-optimized sensory abilities in the game.
Really?
They have full panoramic vision and have binocular eyesight.
I didn't know
ahead
that.
And behind them, which
What
gives
the
them
heck?
a massive accuracy bonus on the attack and a huge evasion bonus if they're being chased. With the chemo and electroreceptors on the front of their face, they essentially have 3D smell and 3D electroreception, putting their spatial awareness almost as high as dolphins and bats.
That's insane.
Their snout shape also lets them turn on a dime, which makes it so their attacks almost never miss. Furthermore, while they don't hunt together, they do travel in schools, providing safety in numbers and causing an intimidation debuff on pretty much the entire surrounding area. So that's the tier list for the sharks.
That's crazy.
As you can see, they're an amazing class with a...
If y'all didn't know about sharks, there's no way you would put Hammerhead S tier. No way.
lot of useful abilities and strengths to play around with. They have only a few bad mashups like dolphins, orcas, and a few other top tier fish like swordfish and marlin. Thanks for watching.
That was
You
so
may have
cool.
noticed that this channel went from less than 10,000 to well above 100,000 within a single week.
That's amazing.
Which happens because YouTube started recommending my videos. So to repay the YouTube community for shooting my sub count to the moon, I'm going to make a few recommendations of my own for channels with low sub counts. First, I've got to shout out Metacurio, an educational channel on disease and medicine.
That's cool.
Second is Vlogs of Knowledge, a channel dedicated to putting the cool and interesting parts of history in historical context and providing much needed background. Last is the Manitowoc Minute, the only thing good about living in Wisconsin. Thanks again for watching, and if you got a build that you'd like me to analyze, be sure to leave it in the comments, and subscribe so that you don't miss it when I actually do cover it.
That was really cool. Shout out TierZoo, always amazing, amazing content. Like I said, guys, I don't really know anything about sharks. This was so interesting. I had no idea that hammerheads had that amazing of sensory capacities. I thought they were just kind of a weird shark, kind of similar to the C and D tier down here, that just kind of was shaped differently for no real particular reason, but that makes way more sense. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day. Make sure you subscribe down below for more reactions, or check out the channel. We've done a bunch of TierZoo reactions now. Love doing them. I'm going to keep doing them. Comment down below if you want to see me react to anything else. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. I love you guys. Take care of yourself. I will see you next time. I'm Wesley, and I'm